Peace party people, welcome back to Where My Killer Tape At. This is the season finale of season 2. This will be season 2, episode 20, which is not the 40th episode. It's actually the 41st episode, because remember we had a holiday special in between season 1 and season 2. Yo, we're going to get hardcore into it. We're going to talk about recycled nudes and what I meant by that. We're going to talk about slut shaming and stop hating on those IG models. We're going to talk a little bit about Charlamagne and his case. And we're going to review Sorry to Bother You, the movie by the wonderful Boots Riley of the Coup. And of course, we're bringing the old segments on how to approach women and health. So word is born. Welcome back for the last episode of season 2. Let's do it.
I like the rhymes.
All of us are born with the miraculous ability to determine the direction from which sounds approach us.
Let us venture into new and uncharted land.
People get shook up, when I'm introduced as God.
You got that good hair, too.
You're the first one out there with a dashiki talking that crap.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
I pull up, hop out, air out, made it look sexy. They won't take me out my element. Nah, take me out my element.
For the last episode of Where My Killer Tape At, I'm sipping on, it's actually a joint that I just learned about. The company's called Wolf's Ridge, and this is their Dire Wolf Salted Chocolate Caramel Stout. Oh my God. And it tastes exactly like how you see, like how I just said it. It's really good. Shout out to the folks at Barrel House here in Dayton, Ohio. They hit me to it. It's mad delicious, and that's what I'll be sipping on while I do this episode. Word. Well, originally this episode was going to be called Leave the IG Models Alone. After I was talking to Steph from the Dope Science Show, but it's going to be called Recycled Nudes, and there's a reason for that. It's a twofold reason for that. Number one, on Twitter, somebody was complaining about recycled nudes, and let me define that for you. Recycled nudes are pretty much like, for example, if a young woman has a set of nudes in her phone and she sends it to one guy, she might use those same nudes on somebody else. So I guess this guy was complaining that he was getting recycled nudes from a young lady on the internet. And a lot of us were like really, really tripping. Like, why would you be upset that anybody would send you? I mean, you should be thankful. You should be really, 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 really thankful that anybody sends you nudes, right? Quite honestly, like, and let me take that back, because that sounds really crazy. Because I think, just like all things, there's this thing called consent. So consensual nudes, how about that? Consensual nudes. You should be happy that someone gives you consensual nudes, whether they're recycled or not, right? The reason why it's twofold answer to that question is because I think it was episode 1 or episode 4, the one Polaroids of your auntie, and I talked about how back in the day, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have smartphones, and you would, if you did take a consensual nude, and you couldn't go down and get them developed, because usually what would happen is you would have a camera, usually like a 35 millimeter or something of that nature. You take a picture, you have to go get it developed at a different place. So you buy the film, put it in your camera, take a picture, and you got to take it down there. A lot of places would not develop, nudes, people getting shot, people with guns, or they would blot out the eyes or something like that. So what we will do is there's this thing called Polaroids, and actually they're making kind of like a comeback, because I've seen people with them. You can take a Polaroid and the thing about Polaroids is it's automatic. You take the picture and it comes out automatically. Wow, right? I know y'all like, just take it digitally, but we didn't have that back then. So and I had joked about that online, and somebody had replied that, oh, you ain't got to worry about getting recycled nudes. Good point, right? So that's what we're saying. So, hey, you're getting consensual nudes from somebody. You should be happy you're getting them, period, because Some people are not getting them. Some people, what's the term? Their phone is dry, right? Or someone might not find you attractive enough. But if someone finds you attractive enough and they're sending you consensual nudes, whether they're recycled or not, you should be thankful. So stop complaining, party people. Word. In this episode, we're going to talk about slut shaming a lot, and I want to go ahead and give you all a definition of that. I'm going to use Soraya Kamali's definition. She used it back in 2011. It's not a new word. It's just been used a lot lately. It's become very popular. And it's embarrassing, insulting, or otherwise denigrating a girl or woman for her real or extrapolated sexual behavior, including for dressing in a sexual way, having sexual feelings, and or exploring and exhibiting them. It also includes how, you could slut shame somebody, a woman in particular, or a girl, for how they dress, for what they read, what they talk about, how they talk, whether they're flirting or not. It's just a way of slut shaming. It's also a way of control, because it doesn't allow women to explore themselves or their sexuality or how they express themselves sexually. So I want to just hit that up. You probably hear it a lot in the vernacular now because a lot of people use it. So just wanted to give you a definition before we go on. Word. Okay, once again, the original title of this episode was going to be called Leave Those IG Models Alone. And I want to talk about that because it's wild. It's really, really crazy. It's something that I always wanted to talk about. And it's something that I hear a lot of people do this, right? They do a lot of this. Now, first, let's understand that modeling before the internet, right? And when I say, let me rephrase that. Modeling before, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, it was strictly Eurocentric. You had to be a size 0. You had to have a thin nose, thin lips, long hair, blonde. Don't get me wrong. You had people that got in it, women of color that were able to get into that. But again, they still kind of like fit the same model. They were slim. They had aquiline nose. They didn't have like full nose or full lips. And again, Alex Wick is a I know I mispronounced her name. Alex Wick is she's an anomaly. That's, she got in there, because she's dark skinned, short hair, full lips, but she's an anomaly, but she's still like a size 0, right? Again, you have exceptions to the rule, but all in all, it's strictly Eurocentric. And I think what I love about the internet is that a lot of times the internet allows people to get into industries that they were shut out from before, and they're able to create their own lanes and make some money, right? And I think that's dope. That's one thing I love about the internet. Like, here's an example, just podcasting, right? A lot of people are able to express themselves to their particular audience, and they don't have to go through a middleman or a corporation or a radio station. They don't have to do that, where they have program directors that pretty much tell you what to do. So it really takes out the middleman. So there have been a lot of people, particularly women of color, and in the case that I want to bring up, black women who don't meet those Eurocentric standards of beauty, right? Well, we like to say fat or thick women, right? BBW, right? There's been this whole new industry, not new, but it's been an industry that's been opened up where women of color, again, particularly black women, they're spearheading this, and they are representing themselves and loving their bodies and showing their bodies in ways that the industry has shut them out with before. And that's amazing. That's dope. And it's really changing everything that we see now, right? Don't get me wrong. They're still scratching the surface, but, for example, I don't have to open up a magazine anymore. I can just go online and see these women and see them do their thing. And I think that's amazing, and I think that's dope. What I see happening a lot is a lot of people are denigrating these women when they say things like, oh, she's just an IG model, right? Because for some reason, when we say IG or Instagram, we mean like lower tier. That's what you mean, right? A lot of people also use it to slut shame, right? They use it to slut shame these women, or they're showing their bodies. They're naked on here. They shouldn't be doing that because real models, quote unquote, real models don't do that, right? And I think again, that's slut shaming as well. Because what these women are trying to do is they're trying to show everybody that they're not ashamed of their bodies. So yes, they're showing their stretch marks. They're showing their huge breasts. They're showing their bellies. They're showing their thighs, the cellulite in their thighs. And I think, again, that's amazing because they're really making us rethink what is beautiful. They're really making us destroy these Eurocentric standards of beauty. And I think that's dope and it's amazing. And they should be commended and awarded and paid for this kind of work, this kind of labor, right? So when we do stuff like this about the IG models and shame them, I think it's fucked up. But also, there's an even more insidious thing that I want to address because I hear a lot of men who slut shame these girls, right? These women, right? They talk bad about them. They talk about how ugly and dark they are and black. And when I use those terms, I'm using them in a derogatory manner, right? And again, towards black women, black women are not seen as humans. Their bodies are disposable, right? So especially if you're of darker hue, that's the ridicule is even worse. But the crazy part is that a lot of these men will show up in the DMs, right? They'll show up in the DMs and they try to holler. And that's the ill part that really, really intrigues me. That men will do these kind of things. A lot of men will do it, right? And it's fucked up because, again, they see these women as disposable. They don't see them as human beings. They only see them as objects for their sexual desire. And I think that's fucked up. So let's do this, man. Let's stop slut shaming. Let's stop referring. I mean, if you're going to say an IG model, use it in the name in a way that is like, okay, it's like kind of like, sir, you work for UPS. Like, yeah, I do work for UPS, right? Not, oh, you're a lower tier, right? So they're models, right? So if you're going to refer to them as IG models, say, they're a model, you can find her on Instagram. Maybe we can do it that way. Because that's a fact, right? But we shouldn't use it as a term to denigrate anybody or call them names. So when we say stuff like that, that's actually what we're doing. So let's chill with the slut shaming. Word.
It's all a game. It's all a game.
I'm gonna say this about Charlamagne, and I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm not a fan of his at all. He's always been a troll to me. Like, he's always someone that I think I talked about this before. He comes from like the shock jock generation, and his job is to make shocking stuff and everything. And people probably gonna get mad at me. He probably won't lose his job. Shout out to Rodimus Prime. He talks about this a lot on his show. I know I keep talking about it, how people really don't get canceled, but what bothers me a lot, and this is why rape culture is so prevalent, and I know we talked about this last episode, and I just want to really say this, is that people that defend him is like he had sex with a 15-year-old. He was 22. He had sex with a 15-year-old. No matter how you fucking dice it, no matter how you try to defend that, use arithmetic, algebra, whether, he didn't know, whatever in your mind, whatever scenario you create in your mind to try to defend him, ultimately, he had sex with a girl, right? Which, that's pedophilia. Bottom line. Like, no matter how you try to dice it, I don't understand that. And every time somebody gets to a debate about it with me, I point that out to them. I say, yo, wait a second. He had sex with a minor. He had sex with a minor. And what I'm hearing, and let me know if I'm tripping. What I'm hearing is that you are all saying that the people that defend him, and I'm gonna say it, and this is how I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna draw the line in the sand. What you are all saying that it's okay for a grown ass man to have sex with a minor. That's what y'all saying. That you guys are saying that it's okay for a grown ass man to rape a girl. That's what y'all saying right now. That's what you're defending, right? That is whether it happened in 2001 or 2018. That is what y'all saying. And that shit right there is scary. That's real scary that a lot of y'all. So this is what I'm thinking. Either, the people that are defending him and really trying to say either you've done that before, right? Had non-consensual sex with a minor, which means rape, right? Or you're doing it now, or you plan on doing it. That's the only way I could see y'all defending that. Right? That's really the only way. And look, man, if the only people, I notice that there are certain people that are bothered about this. I ain't never did that. So the shit don't bother me. You know what I mean? Like, for real. But if you out here defending him tooth and nail, you ain't got no fucking skin in the game. Then you got to be one of those three dudes. You really do. You got to be one of those three. I'm sorry. That's the only way I'm going to look at it. So when somebody says to me and tries to defend him, I'm going to ask them straight up. Two questions. So you're saying it's okay to rape a girl. And number two, you probably done it. So have you done it? Those are the two questions I'm going to ask y'all. Word. And I'm going to leave it alone. I want to say something real quick about, particularly to the men. This goes out to the men. So please, women, if you have a brother, if you have a cousin, a best friend, a co-worker, your lover, whatever that person is to you, I need you to bring them into the room. And this is what I'm saying to you, gentlemen. Read more feminist literature, particularly black feminist literature, particularly intersectionalist black feminist literature. Because what I see a lot of dudes do, particularly men of color, is that, I'm not even going to say critique, because when you say critique, it has to be constructive, right? It has to be concise, and it has to be to the point, and you have to actually read the material. You can't actually critique anything if you haven't read or watched the material, right? That'll be like me doing a movie review on a movie that I've never watched. I can't do that. That's impossible. I have to watch the movie before I can give it a review, whether it's good, bad, or in the middle. So I'm saying to you to read more feminist literature. I really, 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 really want you to do that. And even if you walk away disagreeing with it, at least you know something about it, right? It's kind of like when right-wingers or conservatives, they critique socialism, right? A lot of times they don't read socialist literature. So I just don't understand how they can critique something that they don't actually read, right? Anyway, so here's some tips. The first book I recommend is Feminism for Everybody by Dr. Bell Hooks. You really need to read that book. And she has another book called Salvation, which really changed the way, that book Salvation changed the way I parent, so really I had a big impact on how I parent. Another book to read that I know this one is kind of old, but I recommend it by the great Joan Morgan, she's the one that coined the term hip hop feminist. It's called Chicken Heads Come Home to Roost. They actually republished it with a foreword by a homie. So check that one out. Also check out Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. She's amazing. She's freaking amazing. I mean, she's just gangsta as fuck. And I'm not saying that because she's Haitian, right? And then another book I would like for y'all to read, and they actually have a website, is the Crunk Feminist Collective. They did a compilation of all the stuff from their website. So I recommend buying that book, putting money in their pocket. They do a lot of dope work. I love their stuff. I started reading them like 2 years ago, and then I finally got the book and I recommend it. So, really for real, we really need to step up. We need to do the work, gentlemen. We really need to do this. I mean, I'm literally begging y'all, we really have to do it, because we really can't discuss domestic violence, intimate partner violence. We can't discuss rape culture. We can't discuss slut shaming. We can't discuss none of those things unless we know what the fuck we're talking about. And we see feminism not as a white female thing, right? Not as a white woman thing, but we see feminism as intersectional, right? Because if the revolution isn't intersectional, we shouldn't want no parts of it, right? If we're about black liberation, we have to be about black liberation for everyone in our community, with the exception of those that want to do harm to our community. That's the only exception that I have, right? Then let's do this. Let's read this literature. Let's really, really, really do this, and let's talk about it, gentlemen. Please.
Yes. The name of the game is light works. Night of the slips. The name of the game is light works.
So me and my teenagers actually went to see Sorry to Bother You. It's a film directed by Boots Riley of the Coup. If you don't know who the Coup is, you might want to check your hip hop card. And this is his directorial debut. I think he's done some videos. I gotta go check, but I know this is his first movie. It stars Lakeith Stansfield. You might know him from Atlanta. It also stars Tessa Thompson, who you know from Thor Ragnarok, and what's that Netflix show? What's Up White People? Something like that. Dear White People. Yeah, she does Dear White People. But you probably recognize her from Thor Ragnarok. She plays Valkyrie. It also has my man Stephen Young from Walking Dead, so it was good to see him outside of that, man. And he looks sexy in that joint, so he's in it. And then let me see who else is in it. Danny Glover's in it. So it's and my man Terry Crews, he in it too. So yeah, I didn't peep he was in it till I watched the movie. Other than that, it's political satire. It is funny. It's hilarious. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And basically, it's about Lakeith Stanfield's character, whose name is Cassius Green. He becomes a telemarketer, and he gets really good at it. And then he moves up to a different department where they sell like weapons and slaves to dictators and companies around the world. So it's real deep. At the same time, the telemarketer trying to start a union. He initially starts, Cassius initially starts working with them, but then he leaves them when he gets promoted. So it's really dope. People are comparing it to like Get Out. I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's actually good, but I think it has its own lane. It's political satire, it's sci-fi, there's a little bit of horror in it, but I think it has its own lane, and there's layers to it. Just like I guess it's because it's a very sophisticated movie, like Get Out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very deep, it's layered, it's woke as fuck. You know what I mean? But I love that. My biggest thing about it is that it really takes place in Oakland. And it really brings out the Oakland community. Like, for example, I know in Oakland, a lot of young people like to ride on their bicycles and they color their wheels, their spokes. They put like flags on it, so they look real colorful as they roll down the street. And there's like so many scenes where you see a lot of young people riding their bikes through Oakland. So I thought that was pretty dope. And that's just an example of how it's just rooted in that community. And I think I would like to see more movies like that, where they're rooted in the community that they're put together in. And Boots Riley did a good job of representing Oakland. So I thought that was really, really, really dope. There's a lot of stuff in there that's hilarious. Oh, my God. I mean, where should I start? That you're just going to be laughing. But I will say this. It is different. It's very different. I don't think, to be quite honest, I ain't never seen nothing like it. You know what I'm saying? So I could think of some movies that go near it, but it goes left several times. But it's a good left, right? Because you got some movies that they go left and you like, what just happened? Is this another movie? Nah, Boots Riley does a good job. I think the main character, Cassius Green, I think that part was created for Lakeith Stanfield, because I can't really see no one else playing that character seriously and pulling it off. So I really like it. Tessa Thompson as Detroit, that was her name, is adorable. And Stephen Young did his thing. Like, it was really good. Like, everybody did their thing. Terry Crews did his thing. Like, everybody really stepped up and did their thing. So I highly, highly recommend it to go see it. I know today in Philadelphia, Black Dog of the Roots is doing a free show. He paid for like a whole theater. So please go out there, go watch it. I saw it I thought it's one of those movies that I thought was going to be at one of those independent movie theater joints that show only independent stuff. I know that's redundant, right? But you know what I mean? No, I saw this at one of the regular movie theaters we have here. So I think Cinemark Rave. So it was there. So please go out there and check it out. It's not like it's just, because initially it came out during July 4th weekend, like July 5th and 6th, but it didn't come out nationwide until this weekend. So definitely check it out. Word. Peace, party people. In this health segment, I'm going to talk about gyms real quick. And it's funny because people always ask me where I train at. And I train in my house or I train outside. And I live in Ohio, so like you don't get a lot of warm weather here. So a lot of times I'm training in the cold. I train, when the weather permits, I train outside. I prefer to train outside. And then the thing with me is that I do a lot of calisthenics, so a lot of those things I can do pretty much anywhere. And one thing, and another reason why I do capoeira is because capoeira has taught me that capoeira can be done in anywhere. It can be done anywhere. I've taught in little confined spaces. I've taught in an old bank. I used to teach capoeira in an old bank. You know what I mean? It used to be an old bank, and they had these little ass rooms, right? I taught capoeira in a place where there was no floor. Like, it was like dirt. Like you put your hands down and your hand walks away. It's all soup on it, right? But we still trained hard. Like, we still trained. And that's one thing that capoeira has taught me, that no matter where you at, you can train. And so I have exercises where I make my students train in like corners. Like I make them 3 or 4 people training in one little corner. So that's what I love about capoeira, because you can do that. And look, I'm not trying to hate on gyms. I just find them to be inconvenient. And I remember coming up as a young blood in New York City, I saw everybody training outside. Like I thought that's how you did it. They didn't train outside. They had a weight set in their house and they trained inside their house. Like, the gyms were a luxury that we just could not afford. And to be honest, I always felt like gyms were for like professional athletes, right? So everybody that I knew that was like training to go to school, college or whatever, they had access to that stuff because the schools had access to that stuff. So that's how I look at it, So I always tell people, because people be like, oh, I need to sign up for a gym. And I get it. There's some gym membership fees. Like I know, like, is it Planet Fitness? And they're not giving me no money. I think they're like $10 a month, I think, something like that. Some places are $20 a month. I know the YMCA, they go with, with how much you make, depending on how much you make. So if you make X amount of money, they're going to charge you X amount of money monthly. I've been in cities where community centers charge you, like, for example, where I live in Dayton, Ohio, the community center for the city, they charge you for a family. They charge you $170 for the whole year, which I think is a steal, right? For a family of 5, I think that's a steal, but I know for somebody that's single or doesn't have kids, they go by how much money you make. Again, for a lot of us, even before Planet Fitness and things of that nature came around, gyms were just, they weren't affordable. We couldn't do it. And then a lot of times, and people will argue, well, you'll spend money on what you want to spend on. And I agree with that to a degree. But for a lot of us, that's really outside of our realm. And on top of that, Planet Fitness ain't everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I live in the hood. There's no Planet Fitness in the hood. I have to drive out to Planet Fitness. So that being said, that shit is bullshit too. So I'm going to say that's bullshit. Anyway, my point is that you can train wherever and whenever you want, right? You don't have to sign up for a gym. You can just go do whatever you do. Again, like I said in episode 1, find what you like to do and stick with it. I know me personally, jump rope works because it gets cold. So a lot of times I can't go outside. So, jump rope in the house is really good for you. Running up and down your steps. We have a 2-story home. So like 2-story family home. So we run up and down the steps, but there's just so many different ways. I mean, shoot, you can go to YouTube and you can just put in a search for whatever, how to train in a small confined space. And I bet you will find thousands upon thousands of videos in thousands of different languages that tell you that. So you don't need a gym. And I get it, for some people, they need some place that's like I know people that they work from home. So, but for some reason, when they're sitting in a house, they can't do any work. So they go to like a coffee shop and they work at the coffee shop because it kind of puts them in that idea that you're here to work. I get that. So for some people, going out to a gym, traveling out to a gym, is what they need to get them in that mindset like this. I'm here to train. I get it. So that's cool. But you don't need it. And I just want to put that in this health segment because I think that's important. Even just like I talked about before, even just walking in your neighborhood for 30 minutes is exercise. You know what I mean? Quite as kept. So I'm going to leave that at that. Again, if you have any questions, hit me up at Dan Tresomi, DANTRESOMI, and you could DM me. Just make sure that it's about health. Peace.
Sip lime or cartier, heavy on the list. You blink my ice ring, John Green, get that small thing.
So for this segment of how to approach women for episode 41, season 2, right? Episode 20 for season 2. I know I'm confusing everybody. Anyway, I just wanted to address something real quick. A couple of things actually. Henry Cavill, the first one is Henry Cavill, the guy that plays Superman. He made a statement in an interview. I think it was with GQ. I could be wrong. Where he said that he's afraid to approach women because he's scared he's going to be accused of rape. And so he'll just go back to his ex-girlfriend, which it's fucked up for several reasons, right? The first one is that a lot of us men think that the Me Too movement is like a witch hunt. Like, we're just going to snatch you up and be like, haha, on, January 1st, 1981, you told this girl she had a big booty. We getting you. Like, dude, that's not how that works. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what the Me Too movement is talking about. I recommend that you go Google Tarana Burke, the sister who actually started that movement, and listen to what she has to say. Like, any interview that she's in, any article that she's written, any article that's written about her, I really ask you to read that, because a lot of people hear what people in the Me Too movement are saying, and remember that a lot of white actresses co-opted it. But Tarana Burke started it. Listen to what she has to say. I don't understand how you Google her and just figure it out, right? Number two, I hear that a lot from dudes. A lot of dudes are like, I don't know what to say to women. I don't want to be accused of rape. And it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling to me. And the reason why I started this segment, how to approach women, is because I saw a lot of guys approach women and they just snafu'd it. Like, the women were obviously attracted to them, or in some cases. And the guy would come up, open up his mouth, and just say all the wrong things. And I've had a lot of young men ask me how to do it too. So I've given them advice, and usually it works. So, and again, I'm a good conversationalist, but also it's twofold. I want men to recognize, and I know I don't talk about this in this segment, recognize what is street harassment, what is unwanted advances, when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate. And I know I've talked about it at the workplace, how it's just, in most cases at the workplace, it's inappropriate. But ultimately it's about consent. And I think that's the key word. I think everybody's missing this, is consent. And well, when I say everybody, I say men are missing this consent. Here's an example. I had a neighbor. He doesn't live in my neighborhood anymore. But anyway, he used to throw these big parties. And look, I love parties, right? The thing is, he would throw these parties like on a Monday and Tuesday night. And I remember approaching him, and I said to him, I said, hey man, can you not have the parties on Monday, Tuesday night? And I told him, I said, hey, if you want to do the parties on Thursday, cool. You know what I mean? If you want to do the parties on Friday, cool. Parties on Saturday, cool. Knock yourself out. Matter of fact, I told him, I said, you could even use my house, right? Like, those were my exact words, right? And he was like, okay. And his response was, man, so I just shouldn't throw a party no more. And I'm just like, that never came out my mouth. Never said that you couldn't throw parties. No one in the Me Too movement is saying you can't approach women. No one is saying that. If you see someone you like, holla. But the thing is, there's this thing called consent, right? There's this thing called, what people like and what they don't like. There's this thing where I don't want to talk to you right now. And what's happening is women are asking men to do certain things, to fix things, right? They're asking us, they don't want us to do this, or they don't want us to do that, or they want us to do this, or they want us to do that, right? So one thing they're asking is if we do approach a woman, right, do it in a respectful manner, right? Recognize, pay attention to the body language, right? Do those things. Like, if she says no, no means no, right? Don't follow her down the street. Don't stalk her. Don't harass her. Don't threaten her. Don't cuss her out. That is not a lot to ask for. That's just bare minimums, right? Or when a young lady is wearing, something that I don't like to use the word provocative. I don't like to use it. That shows a lot of flesh. A lot of men think that it's open season on her, and that is not true. And women are asking us to respect them and respect their space. That's what they're asking. That's all they're asking. They're asking that, if they turn us down, they turn us down. That's it, right? And like in any situation, right? Like if I walk down the street and a Jehovah's Witness walks up and asks and offers me literature, I can say no and they leave me alone, right? That's basically it. It's exactly the same thing they're asking us, right? And that's just the bare minimums. And that's why the previous episode was called bare minimums, right? It's just the bare minimums. So that's what they're asking us to do. They're not saying you can't approach women. I don't know what the hell Henry Cavill, what the fuck he was talking about. That shit is suspect. You know what I mean? That shit is real suspect. But no one's saying that. Just like my neighbor, I never said that he couldn't throw a party. Just felt like he couldn't throw parties on Mondays and Tuesdays. That shit was not cool, right? All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. See y'all next season. We're going to have a lot more to talk about. Word. Shout outs, man, for the season finale. First of all, I know I always give him a shout out. My brother Sekou, my brother Sekou, for putting me onto the Fly Guys podcast. I'm kind of like a regular on there, so I appreciate that. And kind of like, I want to also shout him out because he linked me back up with my homie Clever Speaks. I miss her. She be putting in mad work. And she's about to come out with a podcast herself. So it's going to be real dope. So we're on that show again with the Five Guys podcast, and I appreciate that. Shout out to the Dayton Book Club that I helped start. We meet once a month, man. Y'all really give me life. It's good to be around A-likes. And check out, we're going to be doing one online as well. So listen up for that. You can hit me at Dantresomi, DANTRESOMI on Twitter. Shout out to the homie Aaron of AP2 Photography. Always putting out dope quality shit. I appreciate you for that, man. Shout out to the Delish Restaurant here in Dayton, Ohio. They're closing its doors after 7 years. They'll be closing on July 30th, their last day. They're part of the Downtown Brown, and that's a group of black women that were actually opening up businesses in downtown Dayton. So, mad love, salute to you for putting in that work. And you're going to definitely inspire other people. Shout out to my sister Claviticus, who's basking in motherhood, man. It's a beautiful thing. And then finally, this one goes out to the mighty Joan Morgan, who's about to release her new book in August called She Begat This, 20 Years of the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I'm really looking forward to doing that and hoping that my book club does it in September. So shout out to all of y'all. I love y'all. Shout out to all my listeners, man. Y'all, the best listeners in the world, man. Word is born. I see y'all in season 3. Again, party people, thank you for riding with me. Where my killer tape at? Season 2. This is the finale. I really appreciate y'all for checking me out and showing me all the love. A few things we got to talk about. Number one, if you want to continue the discussion, you could do so on Twitter or Instagram. Hashtag where my killer tape at. And, you spell killer Killa. You can talk about it on Facebook, actually. I don't have a Facebook account, and I probably will not get one. Fuck Facebook, word is born. But you could do it on there too. Actually post my link on there for the podcast. Whichever platform you use. Just a heads up, we are on SoundCloud, we are on Stitcher, we are on Apple Podcasts, and we are on Google Play. We're still working on Podomatic, so bear with me. I'll let y'all know. And also, do me a favor, man. Whatever platform you subscribe to, matter of fact, tell your peoples to do this, right? Tell your peoples to, if they have Apple Podcasts or whatever, they don't even have to listen to my show if they don't want to. But what they should do is they should hit that subscribe button. Have them hit the subscribe button. You do as well. Also, give me a review, man. Whether it's 4 stars or 5 stars, I'm not, I ain't, my cup of tea ain't for everybody, right? So if you like it, if you don't, it's all love. Continue to hit me up on Twitter at Omi's Podcast, OMISPO podcast. I ain't got to spell it all out for you, right? And also my personal one is at Dantresomi, DANTRESOMI. I really, really appreciate all the DMs and the love that I get, especially about my voice. I know people will hear my podcast and be like, oh my God, and they'll DM me and say, oh man, I love your voice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. There was a time when I didn't like my voice, but now I do, man. So love y'all for that. See y'all next season, man. Word is born. We'll be going for about a month, 30 days. But thank you again, showing you mad love. Y'all be safe. Have a dope summer. And, have a whole dope rest of the summer because I'll be back before the summer ends. Peace.